Hey guys, I'm really excited for the conversation that's coming after I get off your screen with a key member of Democratic leadership. I hope that you've been enjoying this content. Please subscribe to the Raging Moderates YouTube channel. We would love to have you as part of the community. And now here's my conversation with Senator Klobuchar. Welcome to Raging Moderates. I'm Jessica Tarlov, and I'm thrilled to have Minnesota's senior senator, Amy Klobuchar, with me. You're also part of the leadership in the Democratic Party and the Senate side, obviously. Good morning. How are you?
Well, thank you so much, Jesse, and thanks for having me on. I am impressed by all the work you do and your incredible work on Fox and your commentary. So it's really an honor to be on.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I hope that means that you'll come on more. I always plug that. I'm like, come. The
Good.
water is fine. I mean, sometimes.
Okay. Now I have a personal invite.
Totally. I get you to any booker you want. But I know time is precious, and I'd love to talk about how great I am for 15 minutes, but we're also in the midst of a government shutdown and, big questions about where the Democratic Party is and where it's going during the second Trump administration. You went a little viral this week for some facial expressions. I want to play a clip for you.
New data came out today from KFF, and that is not Kentucky Fried French fries. KFF could be Kentucky French fries. Yeah.
Kaiser family.
I know. Excuse me. Today, new data came out from KFF, the Kaiser Family Foundation, that said that 78% of Americans say Congress should extend the ACA tax credits.
What was going through your mind there? And there have obviously been a lot of questions about Chuck Schumer's leadership and this important, massively important time for the Democratic Party. And how are you feeling about that?
So all that's on my mind right now is that we make our case to the American people, and that I've got constituents at home. Chuck always makes a lot of jokes, right? No big deal. And the point was what he said very clearly, that the people are with us on this. And that's because when you look at the actual facts, 3/4 of the people on the Affordable Care Act plans, they call them different things. In Minnesota, it's MNsure, are in states that Donald Trump won. And they're in a whole bunch of red congressional districts. And so the point of this is what actually is happening to people when they're seeing this doubling of their insurance rates. They're getting the bills. And no matter what my colleagues on the Republican side try to do to, hey, this is an inside the Beltway problem. No, it's a backyard. It's gone from the Beltway to the backyard. It's gone from people's just blame game on cable TV into this is actually my electricity rates are going up, my groceries are going up, and then, of course, my healthcare premiums are going up. That's why we are making this very clear case, not to the process, not to any of it, but to the American people.
So you have a new ally in this fight, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who,
yes,
I know, a broken clock, right? Twice a day.
We're all retweeting her on that one moment.
On the one moment. And Epstein, she's been good on as well. The polling is in the Democrats' favor on this, between 10 and 15 percentage points, for more blame on the Republican side, though there are some nuggets in these polls also showing that the American public doesn't want the government shut down. And a lot of them don't even think that this fight is worth it. Where do you think you're on day 8 right now of the shutdown? We had air traffic control in Nashville go down for 5 hours because they couldn't staff it. What do you think the next few days look like?
That's going to be up to Donald Trump. I got to be very clear to the American people, and I know they know this, that the Republicans run the White House and they run the Senate and they run the House. And in any other situation, there are negotiations, there are compromises, there are discussions. The House Republicans have not been in Washington now for 19 days. During the middle of this shutdown, they have not been holding votes or been here at all. So big surprise that certain members are going to be saying, hey, this is what I really think. And I think you're going to see more of it because there's a divide, as Politico headline said today, they're in disarray. On our side, and you did ask about leadership, and I didn't come around to answer it, we are united on this from the left of our party to the middle to the more conservative people in our party in terms of wanting to do something on healthcare. Obviously, there's always negotiations going on between people. We like that. We're a big tent party. But in the end, I believe that it's our party that is united of saying we're standing up, which we are, for Americans' health care, for the soybean farmer who told me in a very red district 2 weeks ago when I was on this county tour, he said, I'm in a perfect storm of ugly. He said, the administration has dried up my soybean market. 60% of our soybeans in Minnesota are exported. Fertilizer prices have gone up because the tariffs on Canada. And now I'm facing these healthcare premiums, and my rural healthcare clinic is just on the edge of closing. Donald Trump made a promise to these people. I know, because a good 10% of them voted for me and Donald Trump in my state, so I have some understanding of this. And they voted for him because they believed that he was going to bring costs down. And instead, costs are up. Chaos, as you point out, from what's been going on in the airports around the country is up, and corruption is up.
Corruption is always up when Donald Trump is in office, though it feels much more brazen this time around. I wanted to ask you about the negotiations that you mentioned. Tom Suozzi in the House kind of floated the idea of a one-year tax credit bill to keep the ACA subsidies in place. Leader Jeffries has pushed that aside. Your colleague in the Senate, Lisa Murkowski, has said the Democrats are going to need to get something. This idea that we're just going to force them to blink without some kind of concession is ludicrous. Do you think that if the Republicans came back and said, okay, we'll do a deal on the ACA subsidies alone, that you would go for that? Or it has to be the full shebang to get the Medicaid cuts put back in and kind of go after more of what was in the reconciliation bill on top of the ACA subsidies?
So as much as I love your work, as I said, and look forward to at some point coming on the show and being on here more, I'm not going to negotiate this in this public forum. And I know that's what Leader Schumer believes. That's what Leader Jeffries believes. He was focused on a bill that was out there. There's going to be negotiations about things like the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which again are doubling as we speak. And I keep pointing out, well, the first response of Donald Trump was to make fun of this with sombrero AI created videos, and then this horrible Grim Reaper video that I think kind of did the opposite. It looked like we might have prepared it. Then he goes to, well, this is nothing. We can deal with it later. It's not a December thing. It's not a January thing. It's a now thing. And that's why we want to jumpstart these negotiations right now. And obviously, we're also concerned about many things, the way he's taken the money, like used the government as his personal bank account, sending $20 billion to Argentina. By the way, that nearly, and it hasn't been sent yet, pays for the first year of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. So just to give a sense, there are value decisions that can be made here about what will help the American people. And there's clearly room for negotiation.
Okay. I like that. Well, politicked. I want to talk about Pam Bondi, who was before you yesterday. Super evasive is the most generous way I can describe her testimony, non-responsive, a little sassy too. What did you make of her testimony?
You always think things never cease to amaze you. I think that this was way over the top for me to go from a question about antitrust with one of my colleagues to Antifa in one answer, to just personally blame these senators and go after things when it's our constitutional duty to have oversight of the executive branch. And there were many ways these questions could be answered. Now, I could understand. She might say on some of them, well, I am, at discussions. I'm not going to talk about personnel decisions. But in fact, she wouldn't answer hardly anything. She didn't answer Senator Padilla when he said, should executive orders be followed? She didn't answer anything about what happened to the $50,000 that was reportedly given to border czar Homan when Senator White House asked that question. And well, she didn't answer when Senator Durbin and Senator Schiff asked about the Epstein files and why they're not released. And one of the more interesting ones was when I asked about the Comey case. And I said, okay, so what were your discussions about this case? Because allegedly she and Todd Blanche advocated for not terminating the Eric Siebert, who's a career prosecutor, Republican, that had been recommended by the governor, Republican governor. And I said, what was that? She said, I'm not going to reveal that. And why, when he made the decision that there wasn't evidence to bring these charges, was the White House aide put in, wasn't going to answer that. Then I said, here's the exact words of the president on Truth Social. So that's not a discussion.
No.
Do you see these as a directive after you told me in your nomination hearing that politics would be separate? Again, she wouldn't answer that, except for one thing.
President Trump is the most transparent president in American history. And I don't think he said anything that he hasn't said for years.
She said, this is the most transparent president in the history of America. And oh, I wish I had answered in one way. Really? Does that include releasing the Epstein files? But the point is that this was a very antagonistic attorney general, when I think, given the political violence that we've seen in this country, from the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk to my friend Melissa Hortman being killed, to what happened in Annunciation Church in Minnesota, to the Mormon Temple in Michigan, that this actually should be a moment of bringing down the temperature, trying to find some way, especially within the justice system, to work with people. And she clearly went the opposite route, because she had an audience, not of the people she represents, the American people. She had an audience of one who was sitting in the White House.
Absolutely. And I found from your conversation with Kash Patel when he was in front of you a couple of weeks ago to be particularly moving, when you just pled with him, honestly, and just said, can we turn the temperature down on
Right.
this? Like, I don't even care about who did the last thing. You know, we can't go on like this as a country. And that is how a majority of Americans feel, and certainly the Democratic base feels. And one of the main difficulties, I think, is, you know, we're inundated with so many norm-busting behaviors by this administration, like Lindsey Halligan, who is the only one they could get to bring this case against Comey, you know, photographed just walking into the White House, right? And I think back to Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the tarmac and how that was end-of-days stuff. You know, what can be done to hold them accountable for shattering our Constitution and the norms that govern our country?
And that is such the word, accountability. Our system was set up by our founders as a system of checks and balances, right? And there's the check of Congress. And so that would be my first response, because that's where I work. And that is that not just Democrats, but some of the Republicans who have been hesitant to stand up on things, as, you know, raids in cities. This is about the tariffs. They, behind closed doors, hate a lot of these tariffs. They know this doesn't help small businesses compete because they don't have the reserves to be able to pay off the tariffs. We have the highest rate of farm bankruptcy in 5 years. That should be a moment where they could have stood up and done something, not only about costs for individual Americans, but for capitalism as a whole. They haven't done that. Or, of course, standing up on things like what we do about healthcare, and they have their moment coming up. The other piece of this, if they're not going to stand up, is the courts. And we've seen some extraordinary moments. We've seen the Trump-appointed judge, who I did vote for in Oregon, stand up and say, hey, this isn't okay, against the governor's wishes to bring in the guard like this. We've seen some of this happening in individual judges really throughout time. I go back to the tariffs. I'm obsessed with the tariffs for another interview. But the 3 judges on the trade court who made the original decision that these were illegal under this statute called IEPA, one of the more fun things to say, was a Trump judge, a Reagan judge, they still exist, and an Obama judge. And then it went up to the D.C. court, and that was a 7-4 decision. And the dissent was actually led by an Obama judge. And so now it's headed to the Supreme Court at the beginning of November, one of the most amazing kind of factual situations where the first question they've got to decide is that use of the statute that doesn't even mention tariff legal or not? And then if they decide that it is, then they have to get to the constitutional question of, is that okay to take away this power of Congress? And so this is going to be, to me, it's one of the most, as a court geek, one of the most fascinating cases that we're going to see. So that aside, this is an example of just disregarding the law to me, and that the court has an opportunity to step in. Maybe not on the sexiest thing, but it sure is sexy if you're a small business owner in Minnesota and we're be able to sell stuff, and now you can't because the tariff is eating up, and the counter tariffs eating up the margin that you sold things to. So that's happening, brought by small business owners and state AGs. So to me, just to make a long story short, the check and balance has got to be Congress standing up, which you are increasingly seeing with the Democrats. It's got to be the courts fulfilling their roles, which have been a mixed bag, but there are many decisions, especially at the lower court, that kind of just sit there where they've said things are wrong. You can't fire these new employees that just started. They've done a number of things like this, but again, frustrating me in some of these major decisions. And then the third part is our own constituents. So it's easy to remember Congress, courts, constituents, because the constituents are starting to stand up more and more. And it is not just base Democrats at all. It is independents and moderate Republicans.
Yeah, those town halls have not been full of plants, no matter what some of my colleagues told me. We're running out of time. I want to bookend this with another Chuck Schumer moment, and it connects to the spirit that you're bringing to this conversation. His "No Fucking Way" video also going viral. Let's look at it.
Donald Trump and the Republican Party are hell-bent on taking health care away from 60 million people, closing community clinics, rural hospitals, nursing homes, all so they can keep giving tax breaks to their billionaire friends. It's a disgrace. So Democrats have 3 words for this: no fucking way. It's literally life or death. We will not let Republicans blow up our healthcare system.
All right.
Words that are said behind closed doors make it onto the video. So I think it just shows that's a great example, and Chuck's leadership on all this, which has been through some very difficult times in trying to do the right thing for the people of America, and bringing our caucus with him. That video kind of says it all, because what this is about is taking on this healthcare fight and standing tall. And we're well aware that a lot of people have been complaining over the year of what's going on. I do want to point one other thing out, is that we have overperformed or won in nearly every race, whether it's state legislative race in Iowa, whether it is the state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin by 10 points. So even though we're well aware that we have to show people what's going to happen when we have the keys to the car, we also know that we need to win elections and stand up. So to me, unless we were able to show how bad this is, what Donald Trump is doing to our country, and how bad Republicans are, people aren't going to listen to us. And I think they're finally starting to listen.
All right. A good note to end on. Senator Klobuchar, it was great to have you.
Thank you.